So I'm very excited to be doing my first 30-point brutal space battle between my Jem'Hadar, my Dominion fleet, and I've got more than this, but I just stopped at 30 points. Got some Cardassians in there, and then I've got a bunch of Federation people, and I'm not entirely sure canonically if the California class, this one right here, was actually out during the Dominion War, but hey, it doesn't matter. So, this is going to be a 30-point battle, and that is not technically DS9. I'm going to just treat it as like a Cardassian space station. But anyway, very excited. I'll probably be posting a battle report for this, because it's going to be fun. It's going to take me a couple days, probably. So to set up this game, I set a dice showing 1, a dice showing 2, and a dice showing 3 on there. And every time I would deploy one of my miniatures, the enemy, I would roll a d6 for, or technically a d3, and a 1 or 2, they'd deploy within 6 inches of that, 3 and 4, etc. And that's why we got this kind of weird pattern here, where they've got tons of stuff deployed over here, and only 2 ships over here, which is making a pretty dynamic deployment, and I'm pretty happy with it. Now we have to put down the objectives. Alright, so I've been making this up as I go along. Obviously, I didn't know where the enemies were going to deploy, and I didn't know what the objective even was. But I've decided that the objective is going to be this Turok Nor space station for the Cardassians. The Federation is trying to take it over. So the Federation is going to treat this as a regular objective that they can cap each turn, and they can cap it more than once if more than one ship tries to do that. And then the rest of it's just kill points. And we're going to see how this goes. This is the biggest game I've ever played. I've played probably 15 or maybe 20 points, but I've never played 30 points. So this is uncharted territory. I'm very excited. I'm going to give the enemies +1 save all the way across the board. I'm going to give them +1 save just to make it a little harder for myself, because they're going to be using the generalized AI tree, and I am not going to be. And also I'm going to be using the solo event rules. So that generally is geared against the player, typically. So that will also help the AI have a fighting chance. But we are actually even forces. Now I can tell you, because there's so many enemies on the left side over there, that I'm definitely going to be focusing most of my firepower on this side, try to collapse this flank, and then work that way. You'll notice that I have pretty much evenly dispersed forces. I've got a fleet here, I've got a fleet there, and one in the middle. But I'm really going to start going towards this. Now that I know that that's the objective, they have weaker forces over here with just one of the Keldons and the Galores. And I'm definitely going to be trying to force that issue and destroy them, clear up this quarter of the board, and hopefully that'll work out, but we'll see. We activated the Sovereign class first. He moved forward and started turning. He's an augmenter. He put a time slip on the Oberth squad and a aura on the Akira class. Then they activated the Yellow Raider right there. You can tell I color-coded them differently. See, he's got a spot of yellow on him, so I know which ones they are. Which fired onto the Sovereign, dealing damage to each of its Shredder modules and some minor damage chart. Our next activation, we moved the Galaxy class up, fired 2 shots at the Galore over there, taking his Pistolier module down to 1 hit point, and then we put a Protect on the Akira class here. And then they activated this Galore class, 2 damage in the rear arc of the Enterprise, but we critically saved it. Next up, we activated the California class that moved over here. He fired 2 shots at the Galore. Unfortunately, they crit saved. The extra save I gave them army-wide is definitely helping. And then he moved up forward. This escort moved up here, declared all stop, aimed and fired at the Nebula class, destroying its tactical module, or tactician module, and damaging its engines, giving it a haywire. So that's going to be a problem. And scored them a victory point. So the score is 1-0. The next activation we did was the Nova class. They're a basic support. They flew up over here. They critically failed their barrier. They're going to put up a line of sight blocking barrier, but they failed that and took a damage. And then they put a protect on the Defiant, enhancing their shields. The Galore class over here, double Pistolier, killed the Nova. It did not explode, which also removes the protect from the Defiant. And that's 2 points for Dominion versus 0 Federation. On this turn, our Galaxy class moved and turned the same way everyone else is doing that. They brought the Galore down to 1 hit point on its Pistolier module and 2 on its fast, and gave it a double chain reaction and a system failure. The system failure came from cyber warfare, and then he sent engineering teams over to the Nebula trying to remove this Haywire token, but unfortunately it backfired, critically failed, and the Galaxy took a damage. And then we had one of these heavy escorts from the Dominion swing around and shoot at the Sovereign, which saved it. Now this turn was pretty crazy. We had our Akira class move and advance all the way up here and charge into the Keldon there. He ended up doing 2 damage to the Keldon and a chain reaction. He took no damage from the Keldon. Then these fighters right here, Jem'Hadar fighters, came from over here. They made a beeline for the Akira. Did only 1 damage to the Akira. The Akira did 2 damage to them and trauma. And they both got disarmed. So that's actually pretty cool. On this activation, the Defiant moved and sped up here trying to get a charge into that juicy spot because he's a Berserker. He failed it, unfortunately, even with the stress. The Keldon lost a hit point because of the chain reaction it had on it from the Akira, but its technicians were able to repair that. It then fired its double blaster modules into the Defiant. The Defiant is down to 1 hit point now and has an engines down, and it's not looking too good. Next, we activated the Akira here. He's just moving up, trying to make a defensive line against that battlecruiser over there, and so that everyone else can move behind him, essentially. He's got aura and a time slip, so he's moderately secure. This battlecruiser over here came from all the way over there, moved and sped, re-rolled it with a stress, and then tried to assault the Enterprise, but even with the stress, failed the charges. The Oberth right here moved up and sent engineering teams over to the Enterprise to heal it a hit point on one of its shredders and to remove the Haywire off of the Nebula here. Then it put time slips onto both of them. They had another battle cruiser right there move up 13 inches to over here, and you see they're starting to get quite close to us. Next, we activated the Nebula. He really didn't do much. He moved around. His tactical module's destroyed, so he tried to shoot at that escort right there. Didn't do anything. And then they brought up this fighter squadron over here, advanced as well. We brought up our Saber, and the Saber's a fighter, so I was trying to get past their minimum movement so I could avoid them and target the Galore there, but we failed both of our charges, even though I re-rolled it and stressed it. And then finally, they brought up these guys all the way up here, and that was the activations. At the end of this turn, we activated the little steam runner right here. He charged into the Galore class and did 2 damage into it. It did 1 damage into him. He also gave them a system failure. And then the rest of the activations were all the Jem'Hadar. So this guy moved up and shot, that guy moved up and shot, that guy moved up and shot. The Sovereign ended up taking a damage on its Shredder, and a damage on its Augmenter, and it also got a Haywire token. And all we have left is the cruiser back there. So despite getting 18 attacks, because this is a triple Berserker, this cruiser is, he did destroy the second module in the Nebula, so it only is down to a basic ranged. It's lost its fast and its tactician. He also did an engines down. He also did a Haywire on them. He did devastate them pretty badly. They were able to do 1 damage on him unsaved from the fast module and did a chain reaction. So at the end of the turn, Dominion is 3-0 over the Federation. The start of turn 2, we lost more modules, so we got to go first. This Galaxy class came up here and lit up the cruiser like bad. Destroyed a module and almost destroyed a second module. Did a fantastic job. And then their cruiser came in and ended up destroying the shredder module on the Sovereign. And it was kind of an underwhelming because the Sovereign saved most of it. Another big turn. Our Galaxy class moved up there. Did an all-stop so he can put people onto that space station. He shot the Jem'Hadar cruiser right here, their flagship, and did nothing to it. He critically saved a bunch of stuff. And he sent engineering crews over here to remove the haywire on the nebula. Then finally, this cruiser ran and assaulted from behind, completely destroyed the Enterprise. So that was 2 modules destroyed. 1 had already been destroyed. And that gave them 3 victory points. So currently, Dominion is 7-1. We need to pick up the pace here. On this turn, the California class moved up, fired. The flagship once again critically saved everything, which was really surprising. The double blaster came back here and did some serious damage to the Galaxy, did a damage to every single one of its modules. Then we had the Saber move up here, assault the Jem'Hadar fighter, did 2 damage on it. It did 1 damage onto the Saber, and an engine's down. This guy just activated. He had an all-stop, so he aimed for free on the Nebula. Blew up the Nebula, unfortunately. So they are 8-1 right now, and we are just losing control of this game. This turn's been really crazy. The Oberth came up and healed the Galaxy class for 2 hit points and put a time slip on himself and a one on the Akira class. Then this cruiser flew up here, assaulted the Galaxy class, and did 9 unsaved damage, blowing it up, which was unfortunate. And then our Akira class was somewhat pumped up. He assaults the flagship, bringing it down to 1 hit point, which, of course, that chain reaction is going to destroy the leader as soon as he activates. He hasn't activated yet. And then we had this guy right here come up, fire at him, and deal 1 damage, and it disarmed. The Saber class is down to 1 hit point now. A lot of new developments. The Steam Runner turned around and charged him from behind, only did 1 damage to him, not much. And then this guy moved up from there and blew up the Saber class, which was unfortunate. The Akira was next to the Jem'Hadar fighters. He looped back around, assaulted them from behind, and destroyed them. And then finally, this guy came from over there, looped around, and shot at the California class, missing both of his shots. The current score is 12-3. We're not doing too hot here. Another crazy turn for us. The Defiant was here. He looped around and assaulted that Galore class, destroyed them both. The Defiant blew up, destroying the Steam Runner class, and dealing damage to him as well. And then, of course, the Capital ship blew up, and he took 2 damage. He's almost dead from chain reactions. So, because of all of that, we've actually caught up a bit in the scoring. It is currently 14-9 with the Dominion still in the lead, but we've got to finish the Dominion turn. At the end of turn 2, the Federation has taken serious losses. You can tell that the Dominion cover half the board now. They're all coming this way. The Federation has been able to pull what they can over to the space station, and they've been able to wipe out all the enemy here except for the one Keldon class. And it's not looking good for the Federation at all. We currently have a score of 14-9 in favor of the Dominion. Now, both of the flagships have been destroyed, so we're not getting any command tokens or anything like that, but I really don't know how we're going to be able to turn this around very easily. We're down 5 points. Now, scoring on the station is going to be a lot easier than killing, but I'm not certain about it. We got to survive for 2 more turns. Some interesting developments have happened. We activated the Galaxy class right there, and he shot at him when the cruiser was still back there. He did some good damage to him. He destroyed one of his modules. That was good. And then he activated the objective. He scored us a point for that and a point for the module he destroyed. He did critically fail something, one of his powers, and the Galaxy class damaged himself. But then he was able to add a protect to the Akira over here. Then the Keldon class right here, it activated and fired at the California class, doing a damage. Not much after that. It's only one module left on that Keldon class. Then we activated the Akira. The Akira went up to the objective, scored a point, and charged into the Jem'Hadar escort. Unfortunately, only did 1 damage, but permanently disarmed his shooting, and that's a basic ranged module. And he's got all stops, so he's just sitting in the water now. And then he ran afterwards. Because I'm outnumbered, I'm having to do a lot of extra actions using stress. So the Galaxy class had to stress, and the Akira had to stress, but luckily I rolled a 10 on the stress check. So I've had to really push ourselves to, because this is a lot to be fighting here when you're outnumbered like 3-1 right now. The cruiser ran up, and we magically rolled 3 critical saves for the Oberth. They didn't do anything in response, but I didn't even have to use my time slip, which was a nice touch. Some more interesting developments. I activated the California class, moved over there, activated the objective, and blew up the Keldon class here. So that brought us 14 to 14 points. Then this cruiser right here came from all the way over here, charged the Oberth, and unfortunately destroyed the Oberth, but the Oberth did blow up, dealing a damage to both of these unsavable, which was kind of a nice last-ditch effort. I like to think the captain just put it to self-destruct, and that was it. Alright, the rest of this turn, the Akira class fixed its engines and advanced over here, and then you see the rest of the fleet has just moved over. One Jem'Hadar attack ship charged the Galaxy class, and shockingly, it did some damage, but the Galaxy class was able to destroy it in assault. And then a lot of pot shots were being taken from all these into the Galaxy. The Galaxy is now down to 1 hit point on its heavy ranged, 1 hit point on its basic ranged, and 2 hit points on its icon. So it's suffered like 4 unsaved damage this turn. The score is currently 15 to 15. Alright, naturally we had to activate the Galaxy first because these cruisers were right here. Got a bunch of points. I blew up the Cardassian Galore class that was here. I got an objective. He did well. This cruiser ran up and dealt a lot of damage to the Galaxy, and also received a bunch of damage. He ran into those asteroids there and took unavoidable damage. And then the California class moved up. He shot and actually blew up the last hit point off this Jem'Hadar cruiser and scored a victory point. And then this ship came over here and fired at the Galaxy and destroyed the Galaxy. And the explosion dealt a damage to him and a damage to him. So now the score is 20 to 17 in favor of the Federation, which is pretty shocking, to be honest with you. So let's see if we can hang on to this, because we're still seriously outnumbered if you look over here. So even though we are outnumbered on the battlefield considerably, with only 3 Federation ships, we're actually winning in points, shockingly, due to activating the objective, which the Dominion can't do. The Akira moved, ran, activated the objective, and then used one of his time slips to assault the Jem'Hadar escort that was right there, and destroyed it. It did blow up, hurting both of the Akiras there, but we got a victory point for the objective and a victory point for the fighter, the escort. This guy activated and fired at him, destroying one of his modules, and now the score is currently 22 to 18. Alright, next up we activated the Akira. He ran over here and destroyed the escort that was sitting right here, scoring us a point. But then the Dominion Dreadnought flew up here, assaulted the California class from behind, and destroyed both of its modules, bringing the score 23 to 20 in favor of the Federation. Now the rest of the turn is all of these guys activating. Let's see if they can destroy at least 3 of the modules from the Federation. The Federation has no more activations. A Jem'Hadar fighter flew up. It's an assassin, and it tried to destroy the final hit point on the Akira. The Akira blocked everything and destroyed the fighter, giving the Federation 1 more point. Then this guy moved up and fired everything at the Akira, destroying it. So now the score is 24 to 21. They're going to have to Actually, you know what? Being that the Akira destroyed that fighter, now this Akira is only 2 modules, so even if they kill it, the Dominion cannot actually win. But let's see if they table us. And that concludes the last 2 activations. These fighters came up and fired at the Akira. The Akira tanked everything, and that is the end of the game, folks. End of turn 4. It is score of 21 to 24 in favor of the Federation, which, to be honest with you, I am shocked. I am truly, truly shocked, because as you saw in this video, the Dominion had the upper hand very early on and continued to have the upper hand until about turn 3, when the Federation, using the station as an objective, was able to pull ahead. And I'm really shocked. The Federation was almost tabled. And what do we have left? We have 4 plus 4 plus 3, 4 points left. No, I'm sorry. 7 points left for the Jem'Hadar on the table. And the Akira is 3 points. So 7 points to 3 points left on the board. But this was a super fantastic game. I've never played such a large game of Brutal Space, and it went beautifully. My table's a bit of a mess, but you can see that I printed cards for each unit. And I coordinated them purple or tan, and this is the number of hit points they had. The purple dice are hit points per module. The green dice are whether or not they activated this turn. When they get blown up, they get put back on their card. And there's all my tokens and dice, and this is all the Federation. All of this is destroyed, so that was a very, very fun game. I'm definitely going to do this again. I was afraid of keeping everything under control as far as organizing all the actions and all that, so I did not actually end up doing the solo event chart, but that would have made things much more interesting. I did do the +1 save for the Jem'Hadar, which made it much more difficult, and I greatly enjoyed this, so I'm definitely going to be doing another big point game. I'm painting more and more of these ships. I've got more Dominion, I've got a Romulan fleet to paint, I've got a Klingon fleet to paint. I'm printing Borg as we speak. I've got a bunch of Borg spheres and cubes. I'm printing like an 11-inch by 11-inch Borg assimilation cube, which is going to be really awesome. So, anyway, I've got a lot more things in the future, and I just wanted to remind you that if you're interested in Brutal Space, go to brutalityskirmishwargame.com, where you can find all of my games and supplements and all of that, and thank you very much for watching.